Hi everyone. Welcome to this beginner level jewelry making class. I'm so glad that you joined us today. We are going to be making super cute Halloween earrings with UV resin. And so this is a completely beginner class. If you are new to UV resin or resin crafting, or if you're new to jewelry crafting in general, this is going to teach you a lot of great basics. And we're going to make all of these Halloween earrings together. So I'm Stephanie Menor. Hello, I'm the creative director at Blue Moon Studio. And first, let's talk about what you need to do this craft. So there are a few basics that you need, and we can switch to the top-down camera. We can spotlight that. Okay, these are the earrings that we're going to make. But I want to go through these in detail, but let's first show you the magic that makes it all happen. That is UV resin. This is what the bottle looks like at Michael's. Everything we're using today is available at Michael's. You'll find it either in the jewelry department or in kind of like the basic general crafts area, depending on your store. So you need your UV resin. You're going to need a lamp. Here, this is a UV lamp. I'm going to hit the button and turn it on. So this is what cures UV resin within just a few minutes. You can also cure it in sunlight. And you're going to need a few basic things like some wood sticks. You're going to need your molds and your findings to put it all together. We'll get to that part. So let's look at the earrings that we're going to make. This is the first earring that we're going to make together. This is a simple black cat earring. And we're going to do this one first because it's the simplest. It's one color. You just kind of pour it into the mold. It's two different molds. The head is one mold and the circle body is another mold. And then we're going to join them with this metal ring, which is called a jump ring. And we have another metal ring here at the top, and that attaches it to the earring wire. So this is the most basic project. As I said, one color. I'm going to show you ways to customize it though, if you want to kind of jazz it up. Second earring we're going to make is this beautiful black rose, very romantic earring. And it has black and pink. I'm going to show you the back of these roses. So the back is the pink color and the black color is more toward the front edge of the petals. And then it is also connected together and then with a little faceted glass bead, also available at Michael's. So we're going to show you how to do that. This one slightly more difficult. You have two colors that you're going to do, and then some different kinds of jewelry joining to join these segments together. And then finally we have our candy corn earring. How cute is this? Now this one is special because it still comes out of a mold, but you can see we've been able to partition the colors. And we do that by inserting some wire, just some wire like this that we straighten, we cut it, we put it inside the mold. And then we kind of pour around it to get this candy corn. And that's how you can partition your molds to make any type of design that you want. All right, so that's what we're going to do. As I clear these off, let me just tell you. So my work surface here that I'm working on is a silicone mat, extra large silicone mat, also available at Michael's. So this just protects my work surface. And you just want to make sure that you're not working near an open window where sunlight's pouring in, because when you're mixing your colors, the resin might actually start to cure before you want it to. What else? Wear gloves if you have sensitive skin, resin sensitivity. All right, well, let's get started. So here's our first pair of earrings, these very simple black cat earrings. And so those are made with molds. So these are silicone molds. And throughout this class, we're going to show you a lot of different molds that we have and how to combine the different shapes together. So his body shape actually comes from this circle here. And the head comes from another mold, which is right here. Move him off to the side. So this one has a bunch of fun shapes in it, but we will be using this cat head mold there. So first of all, when you're looking at silicone molds, you'll notice that ours are so clear. There are plenty of other silicone molds out there on the market, from candy molds and soap molds. Those are all going to be opaque silicone, which does not work well with UV resin. UV resin, because it uses UV light to cure, that light has to reach all through this area. So that's why having a clear mold is important. So that is, and also our molds are sized, you'll notice, to fit under our lamp. And that gives me the perfect segue to talk about the lamp. So the lamp is, you plug it into a USB light source, power source. That can be a like a power block, like you would charge your phone with. It can plug into a any USB outlet in a laptop, for example. And so when you hit the button, this turns on for 1 minute, and it's a self timer, and it will turn off after a minute. If I hit the button again, I can toggle it on and off as I want. Okay. As I said, you can also cure in sunlight. It just takes a little bit longer, but if you have really strong sunlight, it's actually only about 5 or 6 minutes. Under here, we're going to be curing between 2 and 4 minutes, and that will take the liquid material all the way to a solid. So super fast, instant gratification crafting. All right, other tools I have over here, I have a silicone bowl. This is, we sell like a whole mixing kit, which includes the silicone and includes some mixing sticks. All right, so let's get started. We're going to go straight in into this cup with the UV resin. And I'm actually going to pour a lot of this because I need enough for the cat head, the cat body, and some of those roses in the next step. So that's actually a lot of UV resin to pour. Next thing is I want to tint it. So we also sell tints. This is the black tint. We have primary tints. The tint colors can be mixed together to achieve any shade, but this is the black, and you want to give it a good shake. Let me shake this again, because it will settle toward the bottom. And so you want to add the tint. I'm actually going to add, oops, I dropped 1 drop on my mat. Let me clean that up because that will stain. Always, you want to have some paper towels to the side. That's just super helpful for cleanup. All right, so you can see I put 4 drops of the tint in there. These tints are super concentrated, so go a little bit at a time. The goal here is not to make a completely opaque color. You can get close to opaque, but always remember you're curing with UV light. So if that light can't penetrate down through an opaque layer of tint, then it is not going to cure. It will stay in its liquid form. So as I mix this up, you can see we kind of have, I don't know, more of a charcoal color. I'm going to add more tint. I'm going to add 4 more drops. And 4 drops is a lot, but that's only because I'm mixing a lot of resin here. When you're using UV resin for jewelry components are pretty small, so you don't need to mix up. So, you know, when you see the bottle on the shelf, it's a little small, but it actually goes a really long way. All right. This is not quite black enough, so I'm going to add it. Always adding in stages. I can tell you that our certain colors are more concentrated than others. Like, for example, our blue. I'm gonna add 3 more drops. Our blue is so concentrated. You need just like a whisper of it in order to achieve a blue color. All right, mixing that again. And when you mix it, you just want to make sure you're not like whipping air into the mix, because that will cause bubbles. If you're familiar with other types of resin crafting, like 2-part resin, bubbles can be a problem. They're not really a problem with UV resin. I'll show you in case we get any bubbles. I'll show you what to do. All right, so we've mixed up our color. And now it's time to pour this into the molds. So let's put these together. And we are going to fill. And what I would suggest, because this is still a dark color, I'm not even going to fill it the whole way. I'm going to fill it about halfway. I want to make sure I get it in there, in those ears. And because that cup is made of silicone, I can bend it. I think I have a little hair right here stuck in my mold. Let me get that out. So as we are going on this class journey together, if you have any questions, I would love to answer them. Go ahead and use the chat function, and I try to catch it if you have a question. So feel free to ask. We're here to help you. If I'm not being clear about something, you can just let me know and I'll go over it again. Okay, and that's really all that it is. We just pour it into the mold. I'm going to bring the light over here to the mold and turn it on. My cup of the extra resin, this cup, I'm putting off to the side because I don't want this UV light to hit that cup because it will start to cure, and I want to save that for later. Great question from Lena in the chat. Her question is, if my piece comes out sticky or tacky, what do I do? So first of all, a couple things. If your bottle of resin is older, I would suggest that you stir the resin first. If it's been sitting somewhere for a while, some of the ingredients can kind of separate a little bit, which will make the tackiness problem happen. So stir your resin before you start. Second thing is, if it's still tacky, put it under the light for a couple more minutes. If it's still tacky, after that, I suggest you put it in sunlight. Sunlight, you know, there's this pure UV light that comes from the sun that we can't hope to replicate in a little lamp like this. And it really does cure the resin very well. So I always suggest leave it on a sunny windowsill for a little while and it'll cure. All right, so this went for 1 minute. And then I hit the button again to run it for another minute. I'm going to cure this first layer for 2 minutes. And then I'm going to fill the rest of that mold with just clear resin. The back of the piece doesn't need to be black, so it's always nice to have a clear layer because clear dries really, well, not dries, cures really quickly. All right, so that's going. I'm just going to rotate it a little bit. I just want to make sure that we're getting light in all the nooks and crannies. So what's actually happening underneath here is that it's hardening. So if I don't know if you can hear that, but you can hear that it's no longer in a liquid form. It is hardened, but I want to make sure it's hardened all around. The other thing you can do is you can flip over the mold and kind of cure this side of it, which, because this is a dark color, I'm going to do that. Normally would not have to take this step using clear mixed with glitter, clear mixed with lighter colors. But since this is a dark color, you want to make sure that it is fully cured. So I'm going to let that go. And as that goes, I'm going to show you again the earring that we're making, and I'm going to show you some ways that you can customize it. So instead of just a plain cat face, we can add some detail to the cat face. And these details are made by, you know, with simple craft supplies. This is like a tiny little metal charm, also sold at Michael's. This is black wire, and we just kind of stuck those on the front of the cat head using more UV resin as glue. Question from Margaret, should I be working on my cat with you or wait? That is totally up to you. I love it when people craft alongside me so they can kind of ask questions in real time. But it's up to you. I can tell you that if you want to wait, this class will be available on YouTube for you to look at later. And I think it's about 24 hours from now. It'll be up on the Michael's YouTube channel. And oh, and thank you, Maria. Maria just put in the chat a link to see this video. So if you wanted to just watch and then craft later alongside it, that's always a good idea. All right, so I want to make sure my mold is filled to the top. So I'm just going in straight from the bottle with some clear. And then I always like to go with my wood stick. I want to make sure that the resin kind of like got everywhere. It got all the way to the edges. It got around this little peg here. A question from Karen in the chat. If you mix glitter with black resin, will it show up? If it's completely opaque black, it's not going to show. But if it's this that I'm working with here, which on camera looks blackish, it's kind of charcoal colored, yeah, you'll get a little of that sparkle coming through. All right, so another layer. Always moving my molds around so that I can cure both pieces together. Okay, so I'm going to let this layer go for 2 minutes, and then I'm going to show you how to connect them. So we need a couple jump rings. Those are these metal rings here, and we need our earring toppers. So I have some of those over here. Okay. Now, while we're waiting for that to cure, I'm going to talk about jump rings. These are basic building blocks of jewelry. It is a ring that has a break in it. And the trick is finding where the break is. You can kind of see that a little. You can see the break at the top. So using two tools, two pliers, or just your fingers and one plier, you want to situate them so that they are on the two sides of that break, and you want to bring one towards you and one away from you, and that opens the jump ring. So this is open. I'm going to open my other jump ring too. Sometimes with these black ones, it's harder to see where the break is, but I just kind of, oh, there it is. So now that one's open. All right, so those are ready. And this is just a few seconds left. Let's actually turn that off and see what we have here. The one thing you'll notice when you are done curing, your mold will be warm. So it's got some warmth to it. That's from the chemical reaction that just happened inside this mold. But you can see if I push up on the bottom of it, how easily and cleanly that pops out. Okay, let's get our cat head. Okay, these are still slightly sticky. I'm going to put them under there. And then I just want to give you a closer look at this silicone mold. So most of the shapes, actually all of these shapes do have these little silicone pegs here. That peg is what creates a hole in the top of your piece, and that allows you to connect it to other things. So whether you're making an earring, a bracelet, a necklace, anything, you need to be able to connect these charms. So that leaves a perfect hole. On this other mold that we did, most of the shapes have, but some of them don't. See this heart here? That does not have a peg. And I'm going to show you what you can do with something like that. So this heart It's another Halloween earring that we made. And we just connected a bunch of those hearts together with large jump rings. And it's a great way of using a shape like that. Okay, all right, so this is gone. Let's see. So this is what we have. You can see, I can see one little bubble on this side that I didn't catch when it was in the mold, but mostly it is fine. Here you can see, if you see it from the side, you can see our two layers, the clear layer and the first layer that we put on. So this is what we have. And there's not really any additional finishing needed. If you have some rough edges, maybe from filling the mold too much or filling it messily, you can take a, I don't have one here, but a nail file, kind of get those rough edges off. You can also take, you know, if you have a tool like this and you have some rough edges, you can just snap them off and they'll snap clean. All right, so there's my cat head and body. Got my two open jump rings here and my ear wire. All right, let's connect these. So first, connecting the body to the head, take our open jump ring and slide that through the hole that was created in the mold. Oh, I just realized I need to make another hole. Let's look at our example earring. See this earring? The body's connected to the head. We need to make an extra hole there. And let me show you how to do that. So this is a little hand drill, also sold in the same section at Michael's. And this allows you to put a perfectly jewelry-sized hole anywhere you need it. So for example, if I was making this cat earrings and I wanted to have 3 dangles of some kind, I would need to create 3 holes down here. In this case, we only need 1 hole. So I'm just going to line up my drill. First, let me show you. Put it into the palm of your hand. This spins. And so when that's in the palm of your hand, it can move and this can move. And that's how you get that drilling action. So I just place it on the cat head where it needs to go. And with pressure, start kind of boring that out. So this, this hand drill is sold with this kind of standard drill bit size. We also sell an expansion set of drill bits that have anywhere from, I think it's 1 millimeter hole up to 3 millimeters. So whatever size hole you need, we got you covered with this hand drill. And just keep working it. This cat head is one of our thicker molds, so it's having to, there, and it just popped through. You can see from the side, from the back, yeah. All right, let's see, and wipe all that dust away, and there you have it. Looks like it was there always. How clean of a hole that makes. Okay, but now I've made a mess on my work surface. It's all, we're used to that as crafters, huh? Okay, now let's connect these. So I have my jump ring through the body, and I want to put it also through this piece here. Ooh. Okay. Sometimes you got to coerce it to go in there. Okay, and now I want to close the jump ring around that, but in putting it through, I kind of bent the jump ring a little bit, so I need to give it a squeeze and kind of work it back into shape. Okay, and then I can just make it perfect. Okay, and now those two pieces are connected. The top part's easier. Take your other open jump ring, string it on, And let me show you the proper way of closing a jump ring. You close it in the opposite way that you opened it. So you just bring those ends back together. Oops, but not before you add the ear wire. There you go. Super simple black cat earrings. So at this point you have, you know, a working pair of earrings. Now you can further embellish it in these ways with wire. And the way we do that is we just use more of the liquid resin and kind of mound up a little nose area, which I'll start doing that just because I want to show you how. So just mound that up and cure that. Maybe do that 1 or 2 more times, and that kind of gives it a little snout. You can see here. See how it's like we built up a little kind of little mound of resin on there. So that's in layers by putting a drop and then a drop on the mound and a drop on the mound, and that builds it up. That's only if you want to add this extra stuff. They are super cute as is. See, that's hardened. So I would probably go over that 1 more time. And then you add the wires in the same way by using this as glue and a little nose. I'll show you where the nose came from though, if you're interested. We've got all of these different wheels of product in the program, and this one has a little heart on it. So that's what we use for the nose. But these are really fun inclusions. You either want to sink them down into the resin or use them as surface decoration after you pop it out of the mold. All right, so that's our first project. And we are ready to move on to project number 2, which is these earrings. So here's the earring piece, the little component when it comes out of the mold. And let me show you this mold. So this mold has a lot of different fun shapes. It's got like a puffy heart and this like really good earring hoop, butterfly. But this rose is the mold shape that we're going to be using. So first we go in with more of this black that I saved. Okay, and I don't want to fill it the whole way because I want to fill the back of it with pink, and that just gives it kind of this dusty rose kind of a feel. Before I cure this layer though, this particular rose mold, it has those very detailed petals. So I always go in with my wood stick and just make sure that the resin has gotten down inside all those really thin structures in there, just to make sure it's flowed. Get another paper towel here. All right. Okay, let's cure that first layer. While that is curing, I'm going to mix up my pink layer. I think what I'm going to do is I need to block this. I'm going to take another silicone mat, kind of block that UV light because I don't want it to cure this. Okay, going into another clean silicone cup. Just kind of eyeballing how much I think I'll need. So for this dusty pink color, let me turn this over so you can see. We'll see how close I can get to that, but I'm going to put 1 drop of white and a tiny bit of red. Let's see what we got here. All right, my lamp went for 1 minute. I'm going to turn it back on. Yeah, I'm happy with that color. Very pretty rosy color. And this is ready to pour into the mold, which I'm going to let go. While that is going, I'm going to show you, do a little show and tell here, some other fun Halloween projects. So with UV resin, you can make bangle bracelets. How cool are these? And that is made with a mold that looks like this. And so inside this spooky Halloween bangle, we put just some googly eyes that you can buy in, you know, the kids craft area at Michael's. And it's one of many things that you can put down inside the resin. You can see that, I don't know if you can see, but those eyeballs shake. A question came up in the chat. Can you over cure the resin? In my experience, no. I've left things accidentally outside for like a couple days and they've been fine. So yeah, over curing isn't really a problem. Okay, so here is our partial rose, and let's fill the rest of it with pink. I can really squeeze this silicone cup to make it pour easily. And you can see I got 2 air bubbles here. And the way to deal with those, you can just kind of poke them and pop them. If they won't pop, you can scoop them out. And let's see. Helps to have something sharp, even sharper than this, like a safety pin. You can just pop that. But these ones are being stubborn, so we're going to just try to scoop them. Come here. There we go. All right, and we're going to cure. So I saw a question come up about cleanup, and so I'm going to show you one way to clean up. This, I had a little extra pink resin in there. I'm just putting it directly under the lamp. The easiest way to clean up extra resin is just cure it in the cup. And it's because the cup is made of silicone, it'll pop right out. Cured resin does not stick to silicone. So that is really the easiest way to clean it up. And I'll show you with those scraps a special little trick to use those up too. All right, so while that's going, I'm going to get a jump on this part because so in our earring, you see that there are 2 roses. Each one has to be treated a little bit differently because this rose has to have a connection at the top, a loop that just comes from the top. This rose has to have a loop on either side of it, which means that I have to drill through there. I have to drill just a little bit into this one, but I have to drill all the way through this one. So I'm going to get started on that drilling. Now would be a great time if you had any questions to ask them. All right, so here's my test. I'm going to get started on drilling this. We're going to go all the way through this piece, which might take a little bit of time. So is anyone crafting along with us? Are you guys in spectator mode? We love to see the things that you guys make. If you are on social media and you feel like sharing your creations, you can always find us under hashtag UV Resin Craft. That's the name that's on all of our products. Hashtag UV Resin Craft. And I check that hashtag and I like to see what you guys do and comment on your posts. It really brings me such joy to see people crafting with our products. So you can see I'm just kind of drilling through that little by little, making a hole. Margaret's working on her cat. Awesome. I hope you decide to jazz it up in those ways that we showed you. Also in the chat, Jen, who's at our home office, she is going to put a link to our Halloween class from last year, where we do more of a deep dive into making the cat whiskers and making the cat face. So that was our Halloween class for 2021, and she'll post a link to the class in there. All right, so I'm going through this rows. I'm trying to keep the tip of this straight as I go through it, and just keep drilling through. I think right now I'm about halfway. There, she just put the link in the chat for you guys, so you'll see our some of our Halloween projects from last year. Ooh, my hand's getting tired. Oh, there it is, coming through. There it is. All right, so now we've gone all the way through that. Dust that off. Ooh, and throw it across the table. All right. All right, we'll come back to that in a minute. But let's see what we have up here. So we have cured this extra bit of resin. It just pops right out. See, it didn't cure at the very bottom, but that's because this was thick and it's a fairly opaque color. This is what we have here when we pop this out. So you can see the layer of black, the layer of pink. And then from the front, you get this dusty rose. I want to show you this little extra bit. That's because I wasn't so careful pouring the resin into the mold. Here's where you can just go in with snippers. You can just kind of go like that, and it pops off and it makes it very, very smooth. All right, so that's the one that I made here. Here is our, I'm actually gonna, it's slightly sticky. Let me put that under there one more minute. So this is the one that I drilled through. Let me show you our example again. So the one that I drilled all the way through will be here. This one will be here at the bottom. So drilling through, I need to use something called an eye pin. This is an eye pin. Michael sells them in gold, in silver, and in this black gloss color. And so this is another basic building block of jewelry making. So anytime you're trying to connect one shape, one bead to another thing, you'll have to use a head pin. So let me just find, here we go. So I just slide that through, and now we need to create a loop on this side here. Got some dust there. We need to create a loop on this side, and that is what I'm going to show you how to do now. For that, you need something that cuts, and then you need this special jewelry tool. It's called a round nose plier. You can see because the tip of it is round, they're conical cones. And that is what makes this round shape. So basically we're making this shape on this side. So let me show you how to do that. First thing, you bend your eye pin to a 90 degree, and then you want to cut off. You don't need all of this over here. You just need about 3/8 of an inch. And snip. And it flies across the room and you find it later. So now that you have that, now we need to make this little tail there into a loop. And so we do that by using these round nose pliers. We put the pliers at the very end. And if I want a really small loop, I'm going to do it here at the tip. If I want a larger loop, I'm going to do it down here. So I'm going to go somewhere in the middle, grab onto it, and I'm just going to roll my wrist back. And then when I can't roll, my wrist doesn't go that way anymore, I let go and pick it up again and keep rolling. Rolling it, rolling it, rolling it, and you make a loop. So now I've got a loop on this side and a loop on this side, and that means I can connect it to things. Okay, so here's the one that I made. For this one, this is the bottom rows. He just needs a loop at the top. So once again, going in with my trusty drill. And now this time I don't have to drill all the way through. I just need to drill, I don't know, less than 1/4 of an inch. 3/16 of an inch, something like that. Just enough to insert partial head pin like this. Here's our full head pin here. Sorry, not head pin, eye pin. It has an eye at the top. We've taken one of those and cut it just to the tip right there. See? This is what I need to insert into that hole that I drilled. All right, and that's not deep enough yet. From Karen, great question. Is there a way to make your own mold? You are in luck because there is. We have a special product that is a mold maker. And we have done classes on that mold maker before. Jen, I don't know if you could possibly find one of those, but you can make your own molds. I need to drill this a little more. Out of any object. So let's say you have a charm on a charm bracelet and you want to make duplicates of that charm over and over again in resin. They are actually like silicone beads that you melt down. And then you can mold it to the shape. That's also sold at Michael's. All right, so let me pick up my little mini eye pin here. I'm going to dip the tail of it in this leftover resin and put it inside this hole that we just made. And maybe I can actually put a little extra resin in there. Moving this cup out of the way and bringing in my light. This time I'm just going to hold it. Now, if I want to be very professional about it, the loop should be perpendicular to your shape. So caught it right before it cured, because right now I wouldn't be able to twist that. All right, so let me just put that down now that it's caught. And then while that is curing, one final step here, and that is adding that bead at the top. So in the same way that we just did that little twisty move, we take a bead on an eye pin, and we're gonna do those same steps by doing it 90 degrees, cutting it. This is the more classic way of using an eye pin. This is called a basic loop. So I cut that to about 3/16, something like that, 3/8 maybe. And then grab the end, twist it around. When your wrist can't twist anymore, just readjust until you make a loop. And now this is a little bead connector that we've just made. Okay, time to assemble the whole thing together. All right, so we've got my other pliers here. This is our bottom one that attaches to the top one just by using, actually, let me do it from this side. By opening and closing these loops like a jump ring. I just opened it a little, slide it together, and then close it. Okay, now I'm going to add this to this. I'm kind of opening that enough to slide this on and then closing it. Last step, open this top little loop and add your earring finding and then close it. There it is. My two roses didn't exactly match perfectly, but let's just say it gives you that spooky look. Okay, we do not have a lot of time left, so I'm going to jump right to our candy corn, because this is a special technique that I want to share, and you'll be able to kind of take this technique and run with it. Let me show you here. So same thing, using a mold. We're going to use this teardrop shape here. But before we start using the mold, you want to get some wire. This is artistic wire. It's 20 gauge. Gauge just means how thick the wire is. And so this is what 20 gauge wire looks like. You can use any color you want. This is gold. And you want to straighten the wire out with your fingers, or they have fancy wire straightening pliers, but you can really just use your fingers. You want to get that as straight as possible. And then using this mold as a guide, I am going to kind of measure how long I need these pieces of wire to be. So that one I'm going to cut right there. And then I want another piece to go here. Okay. It is not looking perfect yet, but trust the process. Okay, so let me straighten these out. So this will be our white segment, orange and yellow. Okay, let's first, we gotta mix some colors. Oops, sorry, moved you guys. So let's mix those colors. We just need a tiny bit, because if you see this from the side, turn it to the side, all that color is done in a thin first layer, and we fill the back of it with clear. So I need not a lot at all. Okay, got some yellow tint here. Put yellow here and here. There's red to make orange. And white. All right, let's see what we got, and then we'll add more tint as needed. All right, there's yellow. Let's see. I think I may have put too much red in this orange, but let's see what we get. Oh, that's looking pretty good. You can see I'm only mixing a tiny little bit in there. And white. And make sure you wipe off your stick first on a paper towel before you go into the white, because you will transfer some of that tint in there. All right, looking good. Well, maybe give that a better stir. Okay. And I forget the person that asked the question right at the beginning of the class, can you add glitter? This one's for you. We're going to add glitter. Why not? We also sell a full line of glitter and flakes and like cool stuff. Oh, wow. I put a lot in there. That's okay. You measure with your heart when it comes to glitter. That'll be just fine. I'm just going to add the glitter to the orange color. All right, we're ready to start pouring. All right, let's go in with our white. Now I want to pour this really carefully because it's important to pour a thin layer. You don't want your resin to be higher than the level of that wire. So you can see I'm just going in with the littlest bit, and then with my stick here, let's get a clean one. And kind of just dragging that to where I want it to go. Now, if I was doing this at home, I would probably cure this white color first, then move to the orange, cure that, then move to the yellow, cure that. But we're gonna try to do it all in one. And let's hope for the best here, ladies. Tiny little bit. And just move it to where you want it to go. So you can see, oh, that's what I get for not curing the white layer. You see that white layer is kind of migrating. Oh, lesson learned. Or not. Lesson hasn't been learned. Let's go straight in with the yellow. This is fun. This is crafting, guys. It does not have to be perfect. Okay. And cure. I'm going to move these all off to the side because I still need to make a second earring. That is under there. It's curing. We're not going to have, because I didn't cure each color individually, we're not going to have layers that are this perfectly straight, but I have a feeling it's going to be cute anyway. If you want these straight layers, you have to cure each one individually. I'm going to bring this silicone cup. This is that piece that we kind of most of the way cured. And so that pulls out of the cup pretty cleanly. We've got a little smear left at the bottom, which I can just kind of clean up with a paper towel. The hardest thing to clean up is glitter. And so my tip for that is using Scotch tape to kind of pick that glitter up like you would pick lint off of a shirt. But that's how you clean. All right, let's cure that for another minute. So let's pretend that this is fully cured. This is the leftover piece that came out of that silicone cup. What you can do to reuse all of your resin is you can go in and cut this with some scissors. And so you're like kind of making like leftover confetti. Save that. After many projects, you'll have leftover confetti from a lot of different colors. And then you can use that as confetti in your pieces. We made a ring like that, so I'm trying to find it for you. So this ring that we made was just all the little colorful pieces inside there are just leftover resin from other projects. So you can see when you put them back down inside of resin, how cool it looks. So that's a great tip for using 100% of the resin that you mix up. Okay. All right, so this has gone for 2 minutes. It's not going to be beautiful, guys, but let's roll with it. Fill in the back with clear. and let's cure that. I feel like I want to do over here, where I cure each one individually. So I'm going to do that with this little tinier teardrop. Here we go. Taking more wire and straightening it. This one needs to be cut a little shorter. Okay, do over time. Trying to be so perfect about this one, stressing me out. But this is the kind of crafter that I am. I have no patience, which is also why I love a product like UV resin. You don't have to have a lot of patience. All right, kind of snugging that up, making sure this white reaches the wire. Okay, let's cure just that. So this just went for 1 minute under there. I'm going to pop it out anyway to show you what we got. Not the prettiest thing in the world, but you know, we try again. We're doing a do-over. So each of these layers, I'm going to cure for just 1 minute. That hardens it enough that you can kind of work with it. So in between, while that's going, I'm going to show you a few other beautiful Halloween projects that we've made over the years. We've made these cool spider earrings. So the body of the spider is the tiny teardrop. And then to the back, we've added wires as his legs. This is a new one. Oops, nope, before I show that. Next layer, orange. And it's still transferred. Okay, let's cure that. And more show and tell. We made this little Frankenstein guy. We turn him over. So this oval shape came out of a mold. His ears are made from tiny little heart molds. His eyes are made from just a circular mold. And all of this detail on his face, that is wire. That just like we're doing on the candy corn. That's wire that we've bent and put down inside of the mold. All right, we are almost running out of time here, but I just want to put this yellow in. And cure that. So this one's also, I'm really rushing. I really wanted to get this project in there, so it's not perfect, but I think you guys get the idea here, and I hope that I've shown you enough for you to try this out on your own. Feel free to rewatch this again. We have dozens and dozens of UV resin classes up on Michael's YouTube channel right now. So from seasonal projects like this one, we've got Christmas projects, Valentine's Day projects, to kind of everyday things that you can make at all different levels. Please check those out, and I hope that it gives you some great inspiration. So I'm going to finish up my do-over here, but for now I'll leave you with the perfect one here. These are made by our jewelry designer Rosa Vergara, and she does such a clean job. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to be doing a Thanksgiving class. We're going to be doing a Christmas class. Be on the lookout for those on michaels.com. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.